Hi, everyone. This is Kara from St. Joseph County Public Library. I'm from the Center Branch.
And hello, I am Brad, also from the St. Joseph County Public Library, and I'm from the Western Branch.
And we're here for another comic chat today. Today, our comics are going to be no superheroes allowed. So we have some other comics prepared for you today that don't involve superheroes, since we've been talking about them a lot. So our first one, I'm going to share the screen. Okay, our first one is called Fables. And this is a series by Bill Willingham and Lan Medina. And it takes place in modern day New York, and it's all of these fairy tale characters who live in modern day New York. So they kind of have this secret society that exists within this exclusive luxury building, which they call Fable Haven. And this first story revolves around a criminal investigation. Snow White's younger sister, Rose Red, has been found murdered. So the big bad wolf, who is the private investigator for Fablehaven, and Snow White, who is the deputy mayor, they together are investigating her sister's murder. So they meet a lot of other characters, and what's interesting about Fable is that it includes some lesser-known fairy tale characters like Rose Red and also Bluebeard. And all of these characters have checkered pasts, so they're not really the characters as we know them. And we're learning more about their histories. For example, Snow White, she is divorced from Prince Charming, and we see that he's gotten around a little bit with some of the other princesses. It's got this film noir feel, which I think makes it really interesting and different. And of course, there's the investigative drama with lots of twists and turns. Okay, we're moving on.
Dang, that sounds pretty cool. I like the whole noir idea of it all.
Yeah, it really makes it interesting and different from other fairy tale retellings.
Nice, nice. Along the idea of fairy tales, we have the Witcher Omnibus. So, the Witcher follows a story like this. The Witcher Omnibus follows a collection of stories about the Witcher known as Geralt of Rivia. Now, a Witcher is essentially a monster hunter, but they're a monster hunter who has been they've been magically and genetically altered, and in a way that makes them more more apt for hunting down the creatures. But the Witcher themselves, they are kind of not seen as human anymore, because they have they're thought to be emotionless and just to stalk the prey and just primal hunters. So in this story, we follow Geralt in the omnibus, you follow Geralt in several different stories. And I will talk about the first two of the four in the omnibus itself. Now, the first story is called House of Glass. In this one, Geralt comes across a lone hunter whose wife was turned into a creature known as a Bruxai, kind of a type of vampire. Now, the lone hunter seems drawn to follow his monster of a wife, warning away ordinary humans who may get too close. Geralt decides to help this man, tracking the man's former wife to a mansion in the middle of the woods. The mansion is surrounded by monsters who trap them inside, while the monsters within hunt them as well. The second story, known as Fox Children, has Geralt being hired to protect a seafaring vessel alongside his dwarven companion, Adariel. Now, in this one, the crew hides a mysterious, mysterious secret from Geralt, and it ends up with them being attacked by a Vulpus, which is a creature that looks changes shape from a woman to a wolf. And so she kind of wrecks the ship upon this island, and she's slowly hunting down all of the crew on this island, and she uses a lot of illusions and mind warping magics that shows the men their deepest darkest desires and stuff, in a way that slowly takes them all down. And it kind of has this measure of what really makes a monster as you're peering into all these men's minds and hearts. Yeah, it's the graphic novel of a whole is a fantastic read. And if you know anything about The Witcher, it's usually not an open and shut monster hunting kind of series. It really delves into like the idea of that like man may be the true monster. All right, up to you, Kara.
Cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All those monster stories. Along the topic of monster hunters, we have something a little bit more sci-fi. This is called Descender, and it is a series that takes place in space in a time where robots are hunted down. And the reason for this is because uh, the series opens with these giant robots who are attacking several planets, and they're called the Harvesters. So that's a snapshot of what we get for why these robots are being hunted. And then we fast forward 10 years to Jin Kwan. He's a scientist who's known as the father of robotics, and he's picked up by these agents of the United Galactic Council, or the UGC, and they tell him that he has to help them find a robot whose codex is an exact match for these harvesters. They've been looking for it for 10 years since the harvesters attacked, and this is the first time they've ever found one. So the narrative shifts again, and we meet Tim 21, who's a companion bot. So he is a robot who looks like a little boy, and he also acts like a little boy because he was designed to be a companion for a human boy. He has been deactivated for the past 10 years, and he wakes up suddenly to find that everyone on his colony has died mysteriously, and he's wandering around. And while he's wandering around and seeing all of this and wondering what's been happening, he's attacked by scrappers, who are people who hunt down robots and to sell them for scraps. While he's being attacked, he gets rescued by another big mining robot who calls himself Driller the Killer. And they eventually meet up with Kwan and the UGC, and their journey is to get to the main planet of Narada, but they're pursued by scrappers and a lot of other entities who are after Tim 21, because he seems to be the key to a lot of mysteries in this story. So he's very valuable. And as the story goes on, more mysteries unfold and more histories about the characters unfold. I kind of felt like this was a mix between Guardians of the Galaxy and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. So I really liked the mix there, and the world building in the world of these like this conflict of humans versus robots.
I really like the premise of that. I'm a huge fan of like the Mega Man games, and that kind of reminds me that if Mega Man was in a darker, more post-apocalyptic world.
Oh yeah,
so I'll have to give that a read.
Yeah, I don't think we see that many. I mean, there's definitely the trope of, you know, like Terminator and then Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but I don't think we see a huge flux of robots versus humans.
Mm-hmm. We need more.
Yeah.
So the next story. Oh, sorry. The next story we're about to look at is Giant Days. Now, Giant Days is a huge shift away from everything else we've been talking about in this video, because Giant Days is a lot more laid back of a story. Giant Days is about three freshman girls, Susan, Esther, and Daisy, and their misadventures in their first year at University of Sheffield. Now, this story kind of like falls around their problems, like, you know, with courses, adjusting to new adult life, reinventing themselves as, like, you know, someone apart from their families, apart from, you know, the towns they came from. And so I'll give you kind of like a rundown of each of the main characters. Now, Susan is kind of like the tomboy of the group. Susan is shorter than the others and is a medical student. Susan like typically comes off as a tough and blunt person, but she's secretly very sensitive deep down, but she'll never tell you. She also seems to have burned a number of bridges down in her like old hometown of Northampton, but is very mysterious about it. She like never wants to really talk about it. She just gets like very gruff all of a sudden if you mention her old hometown, or like whenever she sees someone she knows from back there, leading her roommates to poke further in where they shouldn't be. And then the next character is Esther. Esther is a tall, slim, pale goth who is like, she's very passionate, very hyper, and super dramatic to the point that it gets her into trouble all the time, and her friends have to bail her out a fair amount. She is a English literature student who loves black metal. She is very yeah, black metal. It's hilarious. It's wonderful. She's very proficient in boxing and is often seen falling in and out of love with various young men on campus. Again, her friends consider her a drama queen, but she is also very loyal and a protective friend. She is honestly my favorite character because she gets the most ridiculous situations, and a lot of times she just thinks the ridiculous situation is normal and doubles down upon the craziness. And it's a delight to watch the train wreck that she kind of drives purposefully. It's just great. And then the last of the three girls is Daisy. Daisy is a tall, biracial young girl with curly, frizzy orange hair and glasses who studies archaeology. Now, Daisy is this young home, like she's been homeschooled up to this point, so she's kind of like she's fairly sheltered, and so a lot of things kind of like strike and freak her out over this new college environment. But she eventually kind of like adapts to it and kind of grows and understands. But due to her upbringing, she has a very like motherly like instinct towards her friends, and she kind of like will be like the moral compass of the group, kind of like guiding them back to what is right, or kind of being the mediator between them all. And again, they see her as very like wide-eyed and optimistic, but she kind of has like a has like a hidden wisdom that comes out from time to time. And this is the kind of like graphic novel that like helps you to get away in more of a relaxing like type of fashion. Yeah, since it's just like, school life.
That sounds really interesting. It's another one where I feel like there aren't a lot of stories for college age students.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree.
All right. That's one that's been on my list for a while, so I might have to pick that up. All right, everyone, that is it for Comic Chat. If you liked any of the comics that we talked about, leave us some comments in the comments. And happy reading, everyone.
All right, take care, guys.